muscle. So they developed a solution, very simple in execution, and I really do hope you guys patent it, because I think there's money in that. Now they've got a clutch that you can operate literally with your finger.
What they have is a tube, an air tube that's roughly 9 inches long, and it's about a half-inch in diameter. It's sealed at both ends. One end is anchored to the frame. The other end is anchored to the clutch cable. They introduce CO2 into the tube with a PID controller. It runs at about 8 bar, and the more they pull on the little lever, which is very easy to actuate with less than a quarter of a kilogram effort for sure, the tube expands and the length contracts. When the length contracts, it releases the clutch. It's that simple. There's a very small lever on the back of the wheel that's very easy to find and actuate, and it takes all of the effort out of the clutch.
Now that's innovation. Okay? And if there was an award here for innovation, I would certainly nominate that thing on that car. You would congratulate me on that.
Absolutely. It's one of the most unique devices I've seen in a long time.
Give them a round of applause. Okay, so if it's not innovation, if the judges think that you've just done something different, to do something different, or not, if you've done something different, the judges are going to interrogate you. Why did you do it? What was the basis behind your decision to go this way? And if you can't convince the judges, guess what? No scores.
I only wanted to mention that we have the same system.
You have the same system?
Yes, and we didn't copy it.
That's good. I haven't seen it. What did you show us?
To the judges that judged us, yeah.
So you like keeping secrets? You like keeping secrets?
No, of course I showed it to you.
Our crystal ball works really well. We know all about this stuff, and we don't know about this stuff.
I just want to mention it.
That's okay. That's innovation.
When we're looking at many of these factors on a car, obviously there's 10 ways of doing many things, and each of you will have found what we like to call the least worst way, if you really thought it through. Because we don't know which the best way is, you probably don't know which the best way is. But if you looked at 10 different ways of doing something, the one you've selected is selected on the grounds of least worst. And that is about the principle that you get to, even if you're in F1. You never know what's best, but you can find least worst, and that will beat the pants off the world. So, when we're talking to you, what we're trying to check from you is whether you do know that you found least worst, or whether when we offer a different option, you think, wait a minute, we didn't think deeply enough about that option. Maybe it's better.
More questions? Really help.
There's a variety of different things that we can talk about. Lightweight is a real big thing on my list of things to do.
What about rotational inertia?
Let's talk about rotational inertia. That's the second thing on the list here. Your engine makes a finite amount of horsepower, and you all put a lot of work into getting the maximum amount of horsepower out of your engine that you possibly can, don't you? Yes, of course you do. You want to then get that horsepower to your back wheels, to the ground, so it can propel your car forward. If you have a lot of spinning inertia in your drivetrain, it takes horsepower to drive all that extra mass. You want to reduce anything that spins on the car down to its lightest possible moment of inertia that you can get it to, and still maintain the reliability factor that you're looking for in your particular event. Now, most of the engines here are 5 or 6-speed transmissions that are integral to the engines. Do all of you use all 6 gears? Of course not. The gearing would be way too tall in 5th or 6th gear. Why not take 5th or 6th gear out and reduce the rotational moment of inertia so that more of that hard-earned horsepower gets to the back wheels?
Do you think that's important? Somebody who has worked on engines to the nth degree, the best of best, will tell you exactly what it's all about.
Well, for example, when the RO series was invented, I'm the guy responsible for suddenly making Oldsmobile look good. I designed an Aurora V8 for them to sit on pole and blow everybody into the weeds. And we went to one of the first Indies, and AJ Foyt turned up and asked another famous team owner there whether his drivers were going to lap at 2:24 or so, because if they were, then AJ's guys would do 2:21, because that's what we've been doing all week. The team owner looks at AJ and he's got, you can see all the cogs in motion. He knows AJ's up to something. So in the end, he sort of, what? And AJ, having asked a question, didn't wait for any answer because the guy couldn't give one, so walks away. Then the man's team went out and sure enough they do 2:21. And AJ's guys go out, opening laps at 2:25. The opposite team number knows something's up. So he puts his dollars down, protests AJ's car. It's taken apart in the paddock for all to see. They take the 6-speed gearbox apart and start counting. And they go 1, 2, 3. Then they start again. 1, 2, 3. There's something missing. The team owner who's protested says, it's got to be a 6-speed box. AJ says, it is a 6-speed box. And nobody said how many had to be in there. The reduction in drag on the gear teeth of the oil-air mixture and the reduction in inertia absorbing power is 4 miles an hour at Indy. Okay? So
4 miles an hour is the difference between drinking milk and drinking Coca-Cola.
So these things can be done, and why I did that is that Indy, the way you qualify is you have 4 laps to wind the speed up. So you don't need the gears. You can get to 220 miles an hour in 4 laps, despite missing gears. You wouldn't have those gears missing in a race. You need to be able to leave pit stops and pace cars and everything with all the gears in the box. But it's useful at the time. Now, on the bikes you're looking at, you may find that you can't easily remove because some of the gears are in pairs when they work, and selectors work. But it's still worth looking at because, as Steve says, a smooth spacer in there looks a whole lot better than a gear for inertia and brake.
Okay, would you assume from that bit of advice that maybe a 10-inch wheel would be better than a 13-inch wheel? Maybe, maybe not. You have to temper these decisions with other information. That's what makes designers. You can't, unfortunately, just pick what seems to be the best solution and stick it all together in a CAD program in a computer and spit out the best car. When do you design the chassis of your car? Almost last. Almost last. You know, and when I see teams who show me, oh, here's an early drawing, we drew this idea of the chassis that we're going to build this car. On what basis did you build? On what basis did you arrive at that?
What drives chassis design is suspension placement.
And
the chassis is last. The tires come first. Once you determine the tires you're running and the tire data that goes with that particular tire you've chosen, then you design the suspension, which then dictates where the suspension mount points are. Then you build the chassis to fit the suspension mount points.
And of course, to accept the other important things like the engine and transmission. There's another little thing that chassis designers hate. I think it's called the driver. That's what it is. Yeah. Unfortunately, you don't put a driver in there. Realistically, all the chassis is a complex bracket to hold all those important nodes together in the right place. It's definitely not the thing that you would design first, and yet time after time after time we hear that.
When we're looking at chassis, one thing we're really looking at is where do all the load paths go? Too many of these suspension brackets seem to be leaning on air. Now I know you can call up high tensile air for some situations, but it's still air. We like to see a load path through a structure.
And as Jeff commented in an earlier discussion we had, if you can't see it, neither can the load. If you can't see it, neither can the load.
Absolutely.